Volodymyr Zelensky condemns Russia's massive overnight attack on Ukraine. Ukrainian president said Russia launched a large-scale, cynical and calculated attack overnight, targeting Ukraine's energy and civilian infrastructure. According to Zelensky, Russian forces fired more than 450 drones and over 30 missiles across the country. At least 20 people were injured and a child was killed in Zaporizhia. Repair crews are working to restore electricity and water supplies in Kyiv and other regions, including Donetsk, Chernihiv, Cherkasy, Kharkiv, Odessa, and other Ukrainian cities. Zelensky said that the attacks are aimed at destroying the country's energy network before winter and called on the US, Europe, and the G7 to take real action by sending more air defense systems and tightening sanctions against Russia. Overnight, the Russian army launched 465 attack drones, along with 2 air ballistic, 14 ballistic, 12 cruise, and 4 guided aerial missiles against targets across all over Ukraine. Russia cuts internet access across many regions to guard against Ukrainian drones, says Forbes. Russian authorities have begun widespread shutdowns of mobile and data networks in dozens of regions to blunt the effectiveness of Ukrainian drone strikes, according to the Forbes journalist. Analysts say this tactic also helps suppress public awareness of the attacks. Local governments have responded by expanding public Wi-Fi access and publishing maps of the new hotspots in major cities. The Moscow Times reported that officials claim these public networks are meant to ensure citizen safety. Security analyst Jason J. Smart says that during drone raids, local authorities in Russia often cut or slow mobile data, causing widespread blackouts and network delays as traffic is forced through fewer routes. He added that during Spider operation earlier this summer, this outage spread across most of the country. Other experts suggest that the blackout strategy serves a double purpose, not just to dampen drone operations, but also to control the narrative. As engineer Heiner Philip put it, Russia may disable the internet not only to prevent live streaming of attacks, but also to stop Ukrainians from leveraging social media and communication networks. South Africa has launched an investigation after laser rangefinders made by a local company were discovered in Russian kamikaze drones attacking Ukraine, Bloomberg reports. The device, produced by Lightwear Optoelectronics, a firm based near Pretoria, was found in the wreckage of a Russian Harpia A1 drone. The rangefinder is normally used in civilian applications such as wildlife monitoring or robotics systems. Ukraine sanctions envoy Vladislav Vlasyuk confirmed that the equipment was identified among drone components recovered from the battlefield. Lightwear said it has no connection to any military use of its products and suspects that unscrupulous intermediaries might have resold the devices to Russia without the company's knowledge. The firm explained that its sensors don't require a special export license, as they are not classified as military goods. However, South Africa's National Conventional Arms Control Committee has announced an inspection of the manufacturer. The incident adds political sensitivity for South Africa, which has faced growing Western scrutiny over its ties with Moscow amid Russia's ongoing war against Ukraine. US President Donald Trump has suggested that Spain should be expelled from NATO, accusing Madrid of failing to meet the alliance's new defense spending targets. Speaking during a meet with Finnish President Alexander Stubb, Trump criticized Spain for what he called lagging behind on its commitments. Maybe you should throw them out of NATO, he said, adding that the country has no excuse not to pay its share. In response, the office of Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez issued a statement affirming that Spain is a full member of NATO, fully committed to its principles and obligations, just like the United States. As Bloomberg notes, no country has ever been expelled from NATO, and there is no formal mechanism to do so. Major alliance decisions require unanimous approval from all 32 members, though a country may choose to withdraw voluntarily under political pressure. Trump's remarks come as he continues to pressure allies to increase defense spending to 5% of GDP, a target far higher than NATO's long-standing 2% goal. Earlier this week, Trump also said he and NATO were working to push for a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine, calling the war the worst conflict since World War II. The Israeli government has approved a US-brokered ceasefire agreement with Hamas, setting the stage for an end to fighting in Gaza within 24 hours and the release of Israeli hostages held by the group within the following 72 hours. The deal proposed by the US President Donald Trump includes a gradual withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza in exchange for the release of hostages and Palestinian prisoners. It is believed that around 20 Israeli hostages are still alive in Gaza, while at least 26 have been confirmed dead, and the fate of 2 remains unknown. Hamas has said that returning the bodies could take longer than freeing those still alive. Following the approval, 8 trucks carrying food and medical supplies began entering Gaza to help civilians who had been displaced by months of war. Hamas officials told mediators that they had received US guarantees confirming the end of hostilities. The ceasefire marks the first major diplomatic breakthrough since the conflict began 2 years ago, though questions remain about how Gaza will be governed and the future of Hamas, which has so far refused to disarm. Inside Israel, the deal faces resistance from hardline members of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's coalitions, who oppose any agreement with Hamas. President Donald Trump said he expects all hostages, both living and deceased, to be returned home by early next week. US Senate boosts aid for Ukraine in new defense budget. The US Senate has approved its version of the 2026 National Defense Authorization Act, which raises funding for the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative to $500 million. The bill passed with 70 votes in favor and 20 against, setting the total defense budget at around $925 billion. The House of Representatives passed a smaller version with a $893 billion budget and $300 million in Ukraine aid. So lawmakers will now begin negotiations to finalize the joint version before the end of the year. The new Senate bill also extends to USAID program until 2028 and grants the Pentagon additional powers to counter drone threats against military facilities. If approved by both chambers, the law will ensure continued US military support for Ukraine amid Russia's ongoing war. That's all for now. For more content, please subscribe.